8 a.m. and we're here at the Graduate Institute of Applied Linguistics, and I'm going to run you through part of my day. And behind you is the Pike Building. That is where our library and administration and some of our labs are. And next to it is where I spend most of my time. It's the Mailer Building. Most of our classes and lectures and group meetings are over there. This is grammar class, or will be once everybody gets here. Today I'm a little bit early, which I assure you is only because of the video. Grammar is not exactly like English grammar. We use dozens of different languages. We use Aztec, we use Mandarin, we use Latin, we use 20 different varieties of ancient Mexican languages, and we parse them apart and understand how they all fit together. It's like a Sudoku puzzle that has meaning. Yesterday, we used an Aztec word, or sentence that only has one word, but it's 52 letters long and means, "You, honorable sir, were going to suddenly up and cause them to scratch themselves on their left eyeball, but apparently didn't." This is the kind of fun stuff we do in here. I'm in 3 different classes right now: grammar, phonology, and SLACA. And I'll describe phonology and SLACA in a moment. And all of them have a lecture component and a lab component. The lecture is pretty much what it sounds like. The professor lectures us and teaches us the new theories. And then in the lab, we start applying those theories. The really neat thing about grammar is that we can now take 20 different sentences in any language, compare them, and see what's going on in the sentence. And where this really gets important is where there's constructions in that language that we don't have in English. There's a language in South America where every single verb is marked for: did the speaker see it happen? Did the speaker hear from somebody else that it happened? Is the speaker uncertain that it happened? Every verb is marked for this, and there's just this little suffix that goes on to mark that. And so when you are translating the Gospel of Mark, and Jesus traveled through Samaria on his way to Jerusalem, who's the speaker? Did the speaker see Jesus doing this? Did Mark see it? Did he hear from Peter that it happened? How do you translate that? Or in English, if we want to say, "My friend said this," I can say, "My friend said, let's go to the store." Or, "My friend said that we should go to the store." It's an indirect or a direct quote. There are some languages that only have one kind. And so there's a story of a missionary who was translating and didn't realize that the language only had indirect quotes. He stands up and says, "Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life." And the people said, "Okay, we'll worship you." Because the people were thinking that Jesus said, "This man is the way, the truth, and the life," because he was saying "I." It was a word-for-word translation from the English rather than the grammar of this language. And so we would just really get into grammar, get our hands messy, and figure out the best way to really translate what the scripture is really trying to say. After grammar, we go into phonology class, and phonology is, the way I described it my first 2 weeks was that if you can understand why 1 + 1 = yellow, you can understand phonology. But what grammar is to a sentence, phonology is to a word. So we're taking different words, breaking them down, seeing why they change, why the word dogs actually ends in Z and not S. In phonology, we take a look at how words actually are, how they're actually spelled, but then compared to how they're actually pronounced. So a word like this, accompaniment, is almost never pronounced this way. Most people either put an extra vowel in here, accompaniment, or simply move this vowel over. So accompaniment. Also this word, we all know that this is a T. It's a real T, it's really there. But nobody actually pronounces it. We all pronounce it Latin. The letter T is made at the back of the throat. It's called a glottal stop. But how do we know? If we go to a language where it's not written down, so they don't have a way to spell it, but they know how it's spelled, but they pronounce it a different way, how can we, going in, when we're just hearing the pronunciation, know it? Where this gets really important is, what if there are 2 words that are spelled different way? In reality, they are different words, but they're pronounced the same way. And one might mean to live, and one might mean to exist. One might mean to be created. Those are really different words, especially when you start getting into the theology and how you're going to translate it. So in phonology, we study the different words to know, how are these going to sound? How are they actually going to be? How do we know which is which? And how do we discover that process? Now, if you really want to have fun with this, try saying this word. And if you have trouble saying it and you want to know why you're having trouble saying it, you can go to my blog at www.nmsi.org. My last lecture of the day is SLACA. SLACA is Second Language and Culture Acquisition. It's a lot less technical than my other classes, but it's less intense. It's teaching us how to learn languages, how do we individually learn languages, so are we right brain or left brain, are we inside or outside, kinetic, tactile, visual, auditory learners, all these things so that we can tailor make our own learning process for ourselves as we go to the field. In the afternoons, we go into our labs. In phonology and grammar, this is working with data sets. We'll take 10 or 20 sentences in a given language and look at the pronouns or look at the verbs or look at the affixes in the sentence and see what's really happening there. In SLACA, we start working with a language helper, somebody who knows another language fluently, and go through different games, different tactile techniques, different ways to commit the words to memory, commit the grammar to memory, and make it really a functional use rather than just drills. It's a little after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm now done with classes for the day. So that means I'm going to go home and start my homework, and tomorrow we'll do this again.